Hey guys, so in today's video I'm going to talk about why and how reading shapes your identity. And not just reading directly, but just consuming things that help you to grow. So a piece of advice I've heard in a lot of places and from a lot of self-improvement YouTubers is that you shouldn't read that much and you should do more instead, right? Which is not something crazy. It makes sense because when you're reading, you're just becoming wiser, and I guess, and you're just learning things, but you're not actually making progress. I don't know if that makes sense, and that is the case. That's the case they make, and I think it makes sense to me at least. But at least at the beginning stages of self improvement, I think that it is important to read, and not specifically because you're gonna apply all the things that you read. Because I don't know, the books I've read, for example, and especially self-improvement, self-development ones, are really long, right? Like they have a lot of content inside. Like it's impossible for you to apply every single thing right away, which is the thing that they recommend to do, right? To apply the things as soon as you learn them. But I think that the value that reading has, at least at the beginning stages of self-improvement, is that it shapes your identity. I think that reading and just consuming content that it's about different mindsets that are going to help you to grow. It just shapes your identity, man. Oh, sorry about that. Because and this is just a theory. I haven't really read any paper or study that backs this up, but this is just from my experience. But at least in my case, when I started reading, I noticed that I started to change my mindset, like drastically, bro. I started changing my mindset about many things. When I started reading about stoicism, for example, I started to become someone more stoic, even though I wasn't really applying all the things that I've read right away. When I started reading about entrepreneurship and mental health and about many other different topics, my identity started to change. I started to add different little things to my identity, like focus, for example, like being someone driven, like being someone that uh, doesn't do many things at the same time, that is laser focused. And just the way that it helped me a lot, that reading helped me a lot, is that it added things to my identity. Because I was exposed just so constantly to all of those different ideas, to being focused, to being driven, to being someone that is that holds himself accountable. For example, for some when I started reading about being someone that is responsible for himself and the people around him, when I started reading about those things and I started just being just attacked by all of those different ideas, when I started just consuming all of those different ideas a lot, I started to add them to my identity. My mentality started to just change, bro. That's the way it really helped me, man. And I really think that even if you're not applying the things that you are reading right away, because maybe you just can't, right? Because I don't like excuses in general, which is why I'm recording in this car right now. This is my brother's car, by the way. I'm recording right now, and I don't have my setup because I'm abroad. I'm not in my home. I can't even edit videos, which is why I'm gonna leave all the the bloopers out at the beginning of this video, just like that, man. I don't like excuses, but at the same time, I know that sometimes you just can't do everything. There's just some things that you just can't do given the situation that you're in. And one thing that happened to me is that, for example, there are some things that I couldn't apply when it came to entrepreneurship, for example, like just investing money on something and shit like that, because I didn't have the money back then. But even if I couldn't apply those things right away, I added a small percentage of that to my identity, and that is valuable. What I'm trying to say with this video is that and what I'm trying to do, the impact I'm trying to have, is just to don't let those guys or that self-improvement gurus just tell you that reading is not worth it if you can't apply it right away. It is worth it either way, man. I agree that it is more valuable if you apply the things that you read right away, because then that way you're gonna internalize those things, and those are things that you are gonna know empirically and not conceptually, because that's a big difference, right? And this is something that I'm maybe going to talk about in the future, about empiric knowledge and conceptual knowledge. But conceptual knowledge is still valuable, man. It has less value, sure, but it is still valuable, man. And if you stopped reading because of that, because you couldn't find the right time to apply those things, then you got to do one or two things to fix that. And when the first one is and this is like just the ideal case, is that you should find a way to apply it right away. That's what I do, at least. Every time I read something, I try to apply it as soon as I can, in terms of mindset or just something that is practical. But if you can't find a way to apply it, just read it, man, and feel comfortable with just reading it. And then if you need it in the future, that's something you're gonna remember, and then you're gonna go back to the book. Which is why I really like to buy books and not just to run them, because I like to have all the books I've read, because that way I can go back to the things I've read from them. That is my message to you guys today. It's just to read, man, and understand that it has value even if you can't apply it right away. You gotta set the standard high.